He's heating up.
I really wanted to step away, not make content, not make videos, reflect, take time to myself, gather my thoughts, really center myself again. And I've come to the conclusion after this NBA playoff run with the Miami Heat, we have nothing to be ashamed about. Absolutely nothing. This is the exact same situation when Allen Iverson went to the finals with the Sixers. You lose in 5 to Shaq and Kobe. You get a game in LA and everybody's still patting you on the back. I compare that to this because they're talking about Nikola Jokic as being top 5 all time, an all-time great already, one of the most dominant centers we've ever seen. So that really bodes well for Miami, looking at what they did this entire playoff run, taking out Milwaukee, taking out the Knicks, got Boston up out of there. They have nothing to be ashamed about. But it's the off season. What are you going to do now? What's next? How do you get back? Well, you either add Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal or both. This is what Brian Windhorst said when they're talking about the Bradley Beal scenario.
So while we saw some jaw-dropping star player trades last summer, the haul that the Timberwolves gave up to get Rudy Gobert, for example, the haul that the Cavs gave up for Donovan Mitchell, I don't think if Bradley Beal got traded, you would see that haul. Because not only would Bradley control where he got traded as a no-trade clause, but also what he gets traded for. He has control over all 4 sides of the trade. And so while he certainly wouldn't want to hurt the Wizards in a deal, he also would have some interest in his own team. And the team acquiring him would inherit that no-trade clause.
So here's my take on that, okay? Bradley Beal positioned himself to make an exit from Washington without being the bad guy. That is somewhat of an evil genius. If you look at it like this, for years he said, no, I'm not leaving. I don't want to leave. I'm not going to ask for a trade. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get my money and tell them I want a no trade clause. I want to show them that I'm not leaving here and you're not going to make me leave. You earn the respect. You prove your loyalty. And then when it's time for them to rebuild, they say, hey, we're going to put the ball in your court. You have no trade clause. You can do whatever you want. You can talk to any team you want to. And you're welcome to leave unscathed at all. Not even a scratch. That's genius. Damian Lillard, not so much. All right. So if you wanted to trade for Damian Lillard, you would have to give up a minimum of 4 players, possibly get a third team involved, and sprinkle in draft picks. Miami does not have that luxury. Now, on the other hand, Bradley Beal, like Windhorst said, he controls a lot of different angles of this whole ordeal. So you can get away with giving up maybe just Tyler, Lowry, Duncan, maybe either Vincent or Strus, something like that. You might not have to give up all 4 of them. Maybe 2 or 3, get another team involved and some draft picks, send them to Washington, and they'd be good with that. You still leave open room for Christian Wood or DeMarcus Cousins or Dwight Howard, guys who are really looking to prove themselves and guys who will fit well next to Bam Adebayo and backing him up, giving him a breather. 15 minutes in this regular season is going to be great for him in the playoffs. Also, being able to play next to some of those guys. So I like the deal for Bradley Beal a lot better. Bars. I like the idea of having Bradley Beal into the fold simply because of what you actually have to give up or will have to give up in order to get Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is my favorite player in the league. I would love to have him in Miami. But what we got to lose, I don't know so much about that. It remains to be seen, considering Trailblazers not trying to get rid of him whatsoever. They want everything. They seen what Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell and all those guys got. So they're looking to say, we deserve a lot more for that. So I don't see the Dame thing working out. But let's talk about the fact that everybody keeps asking the same ridiculous question. Is Jimmy Butler able to be the best player on a championship level team? Well, Jimmy Butler does not score a lot of points. I think that's the primary issue that everybody has with Jimmy. Jimmy is a guy that's going to lead your team with all of the other things that he does outside of just the scoring box. that he's capable of going off. 56 against the Bucks, 42 against the Bucks, 35 against Boston. You know, we've seen him have moments where he just absolutely goes off and goes crazy and scores a lot of points. But Miami follows his lead on his emotion, his passion, being locked in, being focused defensively, doing whatever needs to be done to get the job done. That's his way of leading this Miami Heat team. All right. There's guys in the league, Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal being two of them, who can score a lot of points, but they're not doing it in the playoffs to the point where they're getting to the NBA Finals, or they're consistently getting to the conference finals. Dame has been in the conference finals and he got swept. Bradley Beal hasn't really sniffed much of the playoffs without Russell Westbrook and without John Wall. Joel Embiid is a two-time runner-up MVP. He is a MVP award winner. He is a scoring champion, and he has not been out of the second round of the NBA playoffs. If I have $1,000 to bet on Joel Embiid in a boxing match, second round knockout, guaranteed, every single time. But you look at Jimmy Butler, he's not scoring astronomical numbers, okay? But the last 3 times that they faced Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs, since Jimmy's been there, Miami's 2-1. Faced the Boston Celtics 3 times in the playoffs, all in the conference finals, they're 2-1. Against Philly, 1-0. Those 3 teams have had the best championship odds in the Eastern Conference since Jimmy Butler has been there. And he's gotten them all up out of there with a winning record against those teams in the playoffs. Okay? That is a championship level leader if I've ever seen one. Because he doesn't score 30 a night, which he has been able to and which he can do at will. That's just a personal choice that he doesn't do that. I can't see how you can say he doesn't have the ability to be the best player on a championship team when he's been to 2 NBA finals and he's been to 3 conference finals in the last 4 seasons. Now, let's talk about Ja Morant, okay? Strange transition, I know, but I've been away for a little while and I got to cover all my bases. Ja Morant suspended 25 games. Let's talk about what this is really about. Okay, this isn't I'm punishing you for the first gun incident. I'm not just punishing you for this incident, or I'm punishing you for the gun incident outside the Indiana Pacers bus. I'm punishing you for the incident with the 17-year-old or the mall incident. This is a microcosm of all those things where you say, you know what? If we don't do something drastic and try to save him from himself, he's going to continue down this path to where he himself takes an exit from the NBA. We want to keep him here. We want to take care of him. He's one of our future faces of the NBA. We have to protect him if he's not willing to do so himself. If his family's not willing to do so themselves. If his friends aren't willing to do so themselves, we're going to step in and do something drastic. 25 games, I like it because guess what? It makes him think, man, my incident, 6 seconds of camera time, 6 seconds, cost me 25 games on the court with my team. They're probably going to be struggling in some form or fashion because he's not there. You've already exiled Dylan Brooks. Okay, so you're down a guy, and then you're also down an MVP caliber player. You're going to struggle for a good chunk of those 25 games, and that's going to mess with his psyche. Like, hey, if I want to prevent this from happening, I'm going to take responsibility for what I'm doing to my team and say, you know what? All right, let me get my act together. I got to be on the court for them. On the flip side of that, his actions in the first suspension, okay, in the club, on camera, they say, you know what, we're gonna suspend you for a few games. Voters for the All NBA team looked at that and said, you know what, can't really vote for him because maybe it's, he missed some time. Maybe we don't think he deserves it. This incident plays a factor into that, costs some money. Now you're out another 25 games this coming season, costs you money. Altogether, it's going to come out to be around $50 million. If somebody looks down and says, you know what, 6 seconds on the internet cost me $50 million, that's quick math. I need to just chill out for a little bit. That's all I got to say about the Ja Morant thing. I'm not going to put him down. I'm not going to do anything like that. He's already being held accountable by the league. Now he just got to take time, chill out for the summer, chill out during the season, make sure he's in game-ready shape because the Grizzlies are going to need him desperately to come back and be ready to hoop. Michael Jordan sells the Charlotte Hornets, all right, for basically 10 times the amount he paid for it. $275 million he paid. He sold it for $2.725 billion. Okay, almost $3 billion he just sold this franchise for. Now, everybody's talking about Michael Jordan, the player, as one of the GOATs, if not the GOAT. As an owner, I'm 50-50 on maybe it's not as bad as we think. Okay, it is as bad as we think. So I'm leaning 25-75%. 25% not so bad, 75% it is how we think it is. Now, here's why I say that, okay? If you look at the list of really the important drafts that he's had since he was owner, let's start with 2011. Tobias Harris. You trade him to get rid of the contracts of Steven Jackson and Sean Livingston. All right. You pick Tobias Harris over.
Tobias Harris over me?
Okay, that's questionable. But still, you had to get rid of those two guys' contracts to prepare for the future. You draft Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker was the best player on a college championship team. I'm okay with that. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, not so much. You passed on Bradley Beal and Dame Lillard for Kidd-Gilchrist. The following year in 2013, Cody Zeller. You passed on maybe CJ McCollum. That draft was horrible. One of the worst drafts in recent memory. So maybe CJ McCollum, maybe you could have paired up Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, trade Kemba Walker early on because it was already looking bad. Maybe that's debatable. Then the next year, you get Noah Vonleh, the only player again, another terrible draft. I can, say maybe Zach LaVine, possibly. But even in his early years in Minnesota, didn't seem like he was going to be what he is now. He was just going to be a very good, young guy, athletic, could play some defense, not really a focus of his, but he was a dunker. That's all anybody really knew about him up until he came to Chicago. You draft Shabazz Napier in that same year. Same scenario. Best player on a championship team. I'm okay with that. 2015, you draft Kaminsky. Okay. You pick Kaminsky, who struggled to find minutes on any team he's been on. And you passed on Devin Booker and Miles Turner. Miles Turner, a perennial defensive all-star. Devin Booker, he's been to an NBA Finals, one of the elite players we have in the league, one of the elite scorers we have in the league. Bad move. Malik Monk in 2017. You pass on Bam Adebayo and Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, multiple-time all-star. Bam Adebayo, multiple NBA Finals trips, multiple, defensive, all-defensive team. That's a miss. 2018. Now, this is where I say it's debatable because, yes, you trade away SGA, Shea Alexander, okay? You trade him away, but you get Miles Bridges. You look at them both, you say SGA is obviously the better player, but Miles Bridges at 20 points a game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. The last time we seen him, borderline all-star. You pair that up with LaMelo Ball, who's had a very rough injury history the last couple seasons. PJ Washington is nothing to scoff at. They have a decent core. They just haven't all been healthy and haven't all been staying out of trouble off the court. If those guys were to lock in and get on the same page, this is a playoff team. But track record shows, okay? There's been some terrible drafts and then there's been some terrible draft picks. So that's why I say it's 25-75. But through all of that, never winning a playoff series in 13 years, and you times 10 your investment and you sell your team for $2.725 billion, a win is a win.
He's heating up.